peacefully. Men driven to drink and women to vice by poverty and despair. And now the cartoonists and squibmongers such as ourselves had an unlikely heroine. Caroline of Brunswick, the estranged wife of the new king, who had signalled her wish to return to England to claim her rights. But George said he would rather divorce her than see her crowned as queen beside him, and a royal divorce was a legal process which threatened to clog up Parliament like cess in the Fleet. As it was, Caroline was being paid enough to feed 100,000 journeymen each year to stay on the continent with her alleged lovers. But this did not prevent the cartoonists from suggesting that her becoming queen would ensure pies, ale, and prosperity for all. Likewise, for men like Isaiah, the king's desire to keep Caroline from the throne became a symbol of all that was wrong with the nation. And so the wronged Queen of England became the people's Caroline, as radicals and revolutionaries of all complexions congregated under the ample tent of her skirts. If Caroline refused to stay abroad, the king wanted a divorce. But his conservative advisers feared the consequences, arguing that the debate in Parliament which this required would only increase the demands for political change. For if the Lords could pass a bill permitting the king to put away his adulterous wife of nearly 30 years, why could it not agree to a 10-hour working day for honest men, the repeal of laws which would execute a man for the theft of 6 shillings, and the vote for men who owned property and had made the country rich through the sweat of their brow? In the summer of 1820, the House of Lords debated if the Queen had lifted her skirts for sundry gentlemen. It was rumoured that she had done a lot more than bare her bosom for at least 2 of the lords who were sitting in judgment on her, but this was excluded from the proceedings, as was any mention of treason, though it is treasonable to be unfaithful to the heir to the throne. This so-called delicate investigation centred around evenings spent on a tented deck with a certain Italian Count Bergami. Or at least so said the servants. For a few weeks in the summer of 1820, it looked as though the Italians who had changed the royal sheets held the keys to the kingdom. As for the would-be queen, Caroline was like London, brash and showy, all glamour above and something reeking unpleasantly below. It is said that the king insisted that she bathed her privates before he would touch her, and that he only did so once, on their wedding night back in 1795. They had a daughter 9 months later, and their love for Princess Charlotte was the only thing they ever had in common. She died 3 years ago, and some say that Caroline travelled Europe and Africa all the more restlessly as a result, while others insist that the loss made her more determined to return to London, which, in early June 1820, she did. I spent many hundreds of hours inking in the Queen's skirts. We were the envy of many of our rivals for having 2 presses, which meant that we could do fine copperplate work on one and produce cheap handbills on the other. Last summer, the market for both was as accommodating as the Queen herself was alleged to be. And, in a strange way, just as the domestic and the political were united in her ample figure, so these 2 arenas collided in our modest shop. I have done nothing admirable during my 17 years, and I'm certain I will go to hell if I die tomorrow, but I was good at my work. All the same, it is unlikely that you ever bought one of my prints, for we did not have as many customers as the grander establishments such as Tags on Cheapside. Perhaps the reek of cowshit discouraged passing trade, though very few fortunes would be transacted in this city if men allowed their noses to rule their sensibilities, for the stink of London is as powerful as the sin of Sodom. If you did come to our shop, the chances are that you would not have met my eye, for most of our customers did not like the idea of a young girl being soiled by the handling of such images. Some requested to be served by Isaiah, and as they handed over their shillings, they remonstrated with him for allowing me into the shop at all. I wonder how many of our customers realised that most of the printing and all of the careful inking in of the king's nether parts had been done by me. Not that I'm complaining. I could tell you that I loved my work, but it was more than that. Looking back on it, our old press was my truest friend, and the feel of the timpan on my